Chuck Todd is NBC's political director and moderator of Meet the Press. Chuck, good morning to you.
More importantly, good morning to you, although I'm guessing you don't sleep much these days, Hallie. It's good to have you back.
Not these days, not with a new baby in the house, Chuck. It is good to be back,
yes.
And just in time for lots of action, including, Chuck, this new NBC News Wall Street Journal poll this morning. I want to talk about it because it's pretty interesting. It's really all about Trump, right? The president's supporters overwhelmingly back him, but this poll shows that more than half of expected Biden voters are really voting against President Trump as opposed to for Joe Biden. So all this attention on the president. You've got the Democratic convention starting tomorrow. What does Joe Biden, in your view, need to do to really make it matter?
Well, I would say in a normal political environment, I'd say, you know what, you don't want to, it's a little bit of a risk, even when you're running against the incumbent, to simply be the I'm not the incumbent candidate. And you would normally say that's not a good place to be. But I would argue, you know, one of the reasons Donald Trump won in 2016 is that there were a lot of not Hillary voters, if you will, meaning there were people that weren't Trump fans, but they decided they didn't want to vote for Hillary Clinton. And so, you know, Joe Biden's strength in this poll, as you can see, is that he's not Donald Trump. It's almost the single biggest attribute that he has that voters seem to side with. I do think this week that's one of their jobs, is to make the case for. They know the case against. Maybe in some ways it's enough to make a case against, but they should try to do some case for themselves. And I think in some ways that's Joe Biden's job. Kamala Harris, I think, is going to prosecute more of the case against Donald Trump during her speech, which is a lot of times the job of the running mate.
Definitely a lot to look ahead to as the convention happens this week. All of it, of course, against the backdrop of this Postal Service crisis. We know that the USPS can handle a lot of mail, right? We see it every year around the holidays. But these changes at the post office have a lot of people concerned about what this means for mail-in ballots. What needs to happen to restore potentially public confidence to get things back on track here?
Well, I think number one, what needs to happen to establish public confidence is the president needs to sort of back off on his rhetoric here. I do think he is added to this concern that people have about the mail. But physically, it seems as if, you know, it's hard to ignore all these anecdotal reports all around the country, whether it's slow mail in Montana, removed mailboxes in Oregon. There's just a lot of odd stuff happening at an odd time. And I'll say this, Hallie, I think this is extraordinarily risky for the president on the political front because one of his bases of support is rural America. Well, the Postal Service is extraordinarily not only popular in rural America, it's arguably as important of a lifeline as there is in this country. Slowing down the mail is going to hurt him with voters that are normally very, very supportive of him. I really think he is playing with fire here.
Chuck, thank you much. Lots to talk about for sure. And we're going to look for more this morning on Meet the Press when Chuck looks ahead to the Democratic National Convention with Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders. And a reminder, we will have complete coverage of the convention Monday through Thursday nights at 10 o'clock Eastern right here on NBC.